Hello and welcome to this video, which is part of a series on proliferation financing. This particular video will be covering outcomes from the PF survey, which supervised entities completed earlier in 2024. I am Jill Bennett, manager of the AML-CFT Supervision Division at the Authority.
And I'm Ellie Stevenson, an assistant manager within the same division.
And I'm Alexander Sapanov, Senior Inspector at the Gambling Supervision Commission.
Today, we're going to spend some time talking through the background and key outcomes of the Proliferation Financing Survey results issued by the Authority and the GSC to our respective cohorts. The term PF will be used to refer to proliferation financing throughout this video. Ellie and I will present the key outcomes of the survey issued by the Authority, highlighting the good and poor practices gathered from the survey. Alex will then present the key findings of the GSC's PF survey and the feedback received from industry. The PF survey reports published by both the Authority and the GSC should be read in conjunction with this video for a more detailed analysis. The aim of the questionnaire was to support the undertaking of a national PF risk assessment for the Isle of Man in collaboration with other government agencies. The purpose of the PF questionnaire is to establish the understanding and awareness of PF in various sectors, identify any gaps, issues, or risks, and address these accordingly, and develop and enhance through feedback the regulator's role in this area. As defined within the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism Code of 2019, and Gambling, Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism Code of 2019, the financing of proliferation is included within the definition of the financing of terrorism and is to be construed in accordance with the definitions of financing, terrorism, and proliferation in Section 3 of the Terrorism and Other Crime Financial Restrictions Act of 2014. The Authority's handbook further elaborates that where the term financing of terrorism, or its abbreviation, FT, are used within the code, they also include the financing of proliferation, or FP. And accordingly, where countering the financing of terrorism, or CFT, are used within the codes, they also include countering the financing of proliferation, or CFP. Additionally, Section 2.1 of the Authority's Handbook states that the code requirements apply in respect of countering the financing of proliferation, as well as in respect of countering money laundering and the financing of terrorism. Registered and regulated businesses from various sectors, along with gambling operators, were requested to complete the survey via Strix in January of 2024. For the Authority, a total of 586 firms completed the survey, which equates to a response rate of 98%. As for the GSC, 86 gambling operators responded, resulting to a 96% response rate. The analysis of the questionnaire findings can be found on the PF questionnaire and survey report published by the Authority in August and the GSC in October this year. The links to each respective report will be shared in the description of this video. The respondents of the Authority survey were broken down by sector as shown in the graph. The top 3 respondents, which constitutes the biggest sectors, were as follows. 295 respondents from the designated non-financial businesses and professions, 111 from non-life insurance, and 95 respondents from fiduciary businesses. Ellie and I will now move on to the key outcomes and good and poor practices gathered from the survey.
The key outcomes of the Authority's PF survey are as follows. Of the 586 firms completing the Authority's questionnaire, 543, or 92.7%, responded positively regarding their general awareness of PF, with either very comprehensive, good, or adequate, therefore confirming that they have satisfactory general awareness of proliferation and PF. On the other hand, 43 firms, or 7.3%, admitted that their PF awareness needs enhancement. The Authority would expect these respondents to improve their general awareness on PF matters. In order to help with this, the Authority aims to conduct more outreach and engagement with industry to raise awareness of PF on the island. This has started with the publication of a PF fact sheet on the Authority's website, which provides a summary of the basics of PF and also through this series of PF videos. The publication of the island's PF risk assessment will further aid understanding in this area. With regards to understanding of the term dual-use goods, of the 586 firms, 571 firms, or 97.4%, confirmed they understand the meaning of the term dual-use goods. Only 15 firms, or 2.6%, advised that they are lacking awareness of the term's meaning. Dual-use goods are items, materials, and equipment that have both a civilian and the potential for military or weapons of mass destruction use. An example of this is a triggered spark gap, a precision switch that sends short, large bursts of electricity and is used by a machine called a lithotripter to break up kidney stones. This same item may also be used to ignite a nuclear explosion.
In terms of the business risk assessment, of the 586 firms, 340 firms, or 58%, that took part in the PF questionnaire confirmed that their BRA documentation does not refer to PF specifically, whilst 246 firms, or 42%, confirmed that their BRA refers specifically to PF. The authority would like to highlight that all firms must refer to PF separately within their BRA. Introducing PF within the current BRA will evaluate the overall PF risk associated with the activities undertaken by the firm. The firm's PF risk must be assessed in addition to terrorist financing or other sanction measures, as PF presents and involves different elements of risks for consideration. The authority would like to emphasize that a separate PF BRA is not required for firms to maintain. Consideration of PF matters can be incorporated into the firm's existing BRA.
In terms of training, of the 586 responses, 388 firms, or 66.2%, confirmed that proliferation and PF training is provided to their staff, whilst 198 firms, or 33.8%, did not include PF as part of staff training. Paragraph 32(1) of the Code requires relevant persons to provide or arrange education and training, including refresher training, at least annually, for all officers, any other persons involved in its senior management, and appropriate employees and workers. Knowledge around proliferation and PF amongst staff is essential to understanding the stages of PF funding and recognising potential PF activities. The delivery of PF training as part of the relevant persons training programme will be integral in mitigating PF risks posed to the firm. The lack of staff training may result in ineffective risk management mitigation and a general lack of compliance with the Code.
Additionally, regarding staff training, 361 of 586, or 61.6%, of the firm's PF training covers financial sanctions related to PF, while 38.4% of the respondents' PF training does not cover financial sanctions related to PF. Training related to PF should be integrated into the firm's staff training plan to raise awareness on evolving PF threats and risks. It is vital for employees to be aware of the relevant sanctions regimes in place to combat proliferation and PF. As an international finance center, the island must remain alert to emerging threats in all areas of international financial crime. The Isle of Man Customs and Immigration have published a detailed document on financial sanctions guidance in relation to proliferation financing, which the authority recommends firms to familiarize themselves with.
In terms of covering PF mitigation within firms' training programs, of the 586 firms, 284 firms, or 48.5%, advise that they cover mitigations for PF within their training delivered to staff. Examples of measures that could be taken to mitigate a firm's PF risk include improved onboarding processes for customers, including beneficial owners, enhanced customer due diligence procedures, effective maintenance of customer data, regular controls to ensure effectiveness of procedures and implementation of sanctions screening, and also leveraging the existing compliance programs, including internal controls, to identify potential sanctions evasion. The guidance issued by Customs on potential risks to businesses on the island from proliferation and PF also includes examples of ways to mitigate these risks. Firms may find this useful in understanding the level of mitigation required within their business, which should be in line with the level of risk associated with the business.
In relation to the gambling sector, the following was noted. 80.2% responded positively in regards to awareness of PF, with 17.4% noting improvements are needed, and 2.3% advising that majority of staff have little to no knowledge of PF. The gambling sector also had 58% of operators specifically refer to PF in their BRA, and 53.5% reference PF in their AML-CFT manual. Out of those that do reference PF in the documentation, 71% reference PF in the BRA and AML-CFT manual, 4% reference in BRA only, and 25% reference in AML-CFT manual only. In relation to training, only 51.2% provide training in respect of PF. Paragraph 27 of the Code requires for education and training, including refresher training, to be provided at least annually. The training, among other things, must include awareness of AML-CFT legislation. This includes PF. 88.6% of those who do provide training cover sanctions. PF and sanctions more often than not go hand in hand, and therefore the relevance of sanctions and PF may be useful to those learning about the matter, among other things, to make a connection between the two, and what additional measures and considerations may need to be made around PF. Out of those that do provide training, 95.5% cover risks specific to the operator, and the same gambling operators cover mitigations specific to them arising from PF. This being a good way to demonstrate how PF is relevant to the business and enabling the individuals to apply the potential examples to their roles, hopefully enabling for better detection of risks and assisting the relevant persons to undertake the needful action much quicker. Some additional observations that have been made between the survey results include: in respect of the gambling operators and keeping up to date with PF developments, the gambling operators had a good, varied number of techniques utilised, this being the case for the majority of their estate. It was identified that there is a need for training to be conducted across the gambling industry in relation to PF. However, this could be applied differently according to the level of relevance to staff. I will be exploring this point further in this video. From those who did not conduct training on PF, 23% stated that they will begin to incorporate PF training and guidance in the near future, this being a positive proactive action undertaken by the sector following the completion of the PF survey. The communication of PF staff was limited and effectiveness of training and communication could be improved. I will also comment on this further in this video.
Some examples of good practice identified for ensuring that firms remain up to date with developments regarding PF include subscribing to RSS feeds from Customs and the authority's website, regular horizon scanning for any new guidance or typologies regarding PF published by the authority, the Isle of Man Government, Customs, the Isle of Man Department of Home Affairs, the FIU, relevant professional bodies, and wider global organisations such as the Financial Action Task Force and the Royal United Services Institute. Another good practice point identified is the MLRO or other relevant staff attending industry training sessions provided by the authority and the Isle of Man Government. Use of third-party providers for screening purposes, including PF, who have a global reach and provide relevant updates to the business. Engaging in relevant continuous learning and training to develop knowledge and understanding of financial crime, including PF, current or emerging trends, the associated PF risks, and also ways to mitigate these risks. And finally, utilising professional networks and forums to engage in discussions, share insights, and learn from the experiences of other industry professionals. Some examples of good practice on how businesses communicate developments regarding PF to staff include circulation of relevant news, developments and updates regarding financial crime to all staff on a regular basis, for example at meetings, via email or via a staff intranet page. Additionally, developments are communicated directly to staff in a timely manner when the compliance function or senior management become aware of any relevant changes or following attendance at relevant courses or seminars, and also covering PF as a separate topic within a firm's regular staff AML-CFT training and within the firm's AML-CFT manual. There were also a few examples of poor practice identified from the responses to the authority's PF questionnaire. These included not keeping up to date with developments regarding PF, not circulating information regarding PF to staff, and also not explicitly referring to PF within a firm's staff training and the firm's AML-CFT manual.
The industry was provided with an opportunity to comment and provide feedback around PF and the survey. We have combined these and sorted them by topic, resulting in 4 general areas I will be addressing today. Before I do go into these, I just want to thank all those that have provided feedback, whether this was done formally or on an informal basis. Both the GSC and the FSA take into consideration everything that is raised by you, and whilst it may not always be possible for us to address certain matters, it really helps us to understand your position and enables us to cater our outreach in an effective manner. So, the first and largest requested area, so to speak, was the request for typologies, good and bad practices, and updating of the guidance. In respect of typologies, there will be a separate video specifically covering this area. Whilst in the case of the gambling sector, this is limited, all typologies discussed in that video should be considered. As the world and the industries change and evolve, so will the risks, and you may find that certain elements of those typologies do become relevant. Good and bad practices. Hopefully this video has assisted in explaining these. However, to summarize some of these, subscribing to RSS feeds. This is a great way to get instant updates, and you will be able to receive these in your inbox by subscribing to these, provided you have the most recent version of Outlook. Splitting out PF in your BRA and covering this matter separately in your MLCFT manual and training. And staying abreast of developments such as horizon scanning, attending training and industry sessions, and talking. Talk to your colleagues, talk to other professionals, or even your friends and family if appropriate. This not only encourages discussions, but I think also raises awareness in the community as a whole. And of course, this isn't just PF specific, this can be applied to a lot of other things such as ML and TF. Next area was key mitigation steps of inherent and residual risks. I would like to refer to our previous video in which we discussed the risk-based approach. As noted, this approach recognizes there are finite resources available to combat PF, as well as money laundering and terrorist financing. Utilizing this methodology enables for concentration of the available resources to be applied to the appropriate risks. As highlighted, however, you know your business best and will have a better picture of the risks posed to your business. Notwithstanding this, as already noted previously, the guidance titled Proliferation Financing Risks Guidance should assist you with this. In terms of risk factors, some of these could include country or geographical risks. For example, countries that may not have FATF compliance frameworks or have incredible sources of significant levels of corruption, sanction breaches, or evasion. Customer risk, for example, individuals or business partners being in or having links with friendly for PF territories. This also being relevant to country or geographical risk. Product services risk. For example, do you know the ultimate use of your product? Is it or can it be utilized by an unknown third party? Does your risk assessment and/or processes and procedures account for this? Mitigations have already been covered. However, in addition to this, it was requested that assistance on spotting PF on customer submitted information be provided. Hopefully the mitigations that we have already covered today will assist you with this. However, you must always ensure the full picture to ensure proper scrutiny is undertaken and an appropriate decision can thereafter be made. Further assistance with how PF should feed into risk assessments and how to conduct PF risk assessments. We have covered how PF feeds into the relevant risk assessments such as the business risk assessment, customer risk assessment, and technology risk assessment in the previous video, so please do go and watch that. In terms of how to conduct PF risk assessments, this is not something we can advise on, primarily due to each business being different and there is no size-fits-all system that can be implemented. However, I would recommend you again to review the Proliferation Financing Risk Guidance, which should assist you greatly, as well as these videos that we have conducted. Clarity on whether training staff on PF is required. As I mentioned earlier, training must be undertaken and must include PF. However, there is no requirement for this to be a separate section of the training material. It is up to each business to decide how training is conducted. However, as I also noted before, it is imperative that training is effective, and therefore it may be decided that training on PF separately is the best method to raise awareness and bring attention to this specific topic during the training.
These videos have been prepared in part following requests from the industry for further outreach. Both the GSC and the FSA plan to issue another PF survey in 2025 for the period ending 2024. This will enable us to establish if the outreach so far has been successful or if further appropriate outreach is required to be undertaken by the relevant government agencies. Thank you for listening, and please do continue participating in the surveys and provide your invaluable feedback. It helps us to determine and establish if the outreach has been effective. Thank you.